we clearly need to be scheduling times where everyone and anyone can come together and ask for follow-up. And Diane, thanks so much. Bless you. Bless you.
Did I sneeze?
Can we do that? Finally, the most important thing is how we work together on this. We need to find, indeed, forums where we can work cross-area and cross-estate, if I can use that term. However, the way the board is working and the way the administration is working is, again, not in silos, but to take up certain complexes primarily in one area. So, for example, the governance task force, just to take that as one example, it's got people on it from every area, and it's going to itself be involved in a constant in and out. I cannot emphasize enough that the complex that involves every aspect of instruction, including the cost, is the primary, the primary task of the Dean of Faculty and the faculty. And it's clear that retention, though I do think that our improvement in the area is an overriding concern and something that the board has made very clear, but balancing those things, we're constantly working with, as Steve Weisler as Dean of Enrollment, who's sort of tracking and writing herd on the totality, the number, what we gain. How that's worked out is a collaboration between him and the Dean of Faculty, a committee that was largely faculty and deans, and all that. So as we go forward, that's got to happen within the faculty. I am speaking, as you probably know, on the faculty, at the faculty meeting. It would have been impossible to do even a fraction of this in that thing. So not everyone at the faculty meeting will have seen it, but we can pursue some of those questions there. But of coming up with best processes to capture all of this and to really make this a dialogue and to keep working on it. It's going to be the work of several years, and we'll turn lots of corners. That I want to do, I think, primarily in a number of separate processes that will be as open, transparent, and non-siloed as possible, but will have focuses. Does that make some sense?
Yeah, I mean,
Good.
I guess I'm thinking that a number of different things would be useful at one time. I know the committees are one place where these things can be discussed and debated, but there's a possibility of visiting schools and having a smaller contingent of people who can, maybe collect their thoughts together first, and
Sure,
then,
well,
then have an opportunity to talk, in that smaller context.
Well, let's set those up, and I will be visiting the schools as well. And so we will work with anyone who has ideas about best fora for that. Yes, please, Linda.
I'm a little concerned about the staff reductions.
Yeah.
And I see that there's a couple of new higher level administrative positions being added. And I'm just worried that it will be at the expense of the staff that are already working very hard, many of them on salaries that are putting in well over a normal work week just to get the work done now. So I can't imagine how we're going to do more with less.
Well, that's very hard. And I am well aware of the number of people who work a phenomenal number of hours. Let me just say two things to that. First of all, and I've been very, very open about this from the moment of, certainly my August memo is we are adding new people, and we're adding one very important higher level person, although without getting into details, his or her portfolio is partially one that belonged somewhere else before. However, so critical is our need for our health and well-being as an institution, because we are 85% tuition dependent, that we simply have to have strategic leadership in that area. And that means we have to tighten belts further in other areas. We're adding, absolutely, open, in the sense we had to put together the budget of enrollment and assessment really this year for the first time as a contained unit because it was in transition the year before. We can't do without recruiters. What we are going to be doing is seeing that our recruiters are working as strategically and smartly as possible, and we're going to make our decisions on the basis of the best information. What I can say about the other is I'm very well aware of the degree to which people are working, but I'll just speak openly from my own experience over many years working closely in a number of administrative units, is that it is often possible to rearrange a unit, reapportion, rethink how the tasks are divided, sometimes even to realize that you no longer need to do a certain task. And we have to keep all those things on the table as we bring our investments in line with what we can afford. And my request is that it's important to consider those workload issues, but none of us should keep adding. Josiah, do you mind if I use what I learned about your re-engineering? Is that, in a way, I would say the key element to Josiah, and it's not Josiah's alone, but that whole team that re-engineered the check-in and welcome of new students, what I heard from you is that the key element in success was realizing there were a whole bunch of things that had become part of that process that didn't need to be part of that process. And so that's, in a sense, looking at what's essential today with the means that we have available and the kind of collaborations that are not possible, and to sort of rethink the way work flows. I'm not proposing anything as a magic bullet, absolutely not. But I know personally that we can make a lot of advances in that way. And one of the mantras I have in my office is helping people work at the highest and best use of their time. And I look at some people whose current portfolio has them doing something up here, but something that's would be really a much better investment either not to do or have done collectively somewhere else. We're going to have to be really smart. And as tough as it is, I'm going to say this. I know that we have not had that degree of smart thinking about workflows everywhere in this campus yet. Yeah, just.
Our community is very creative and innovative, and I would really like to see opportunities for the entire community to be able to put forth ideas around saving money, around making money in some
Great.
public forum, whether that's online,
Great.
at a meeting like this, and even ideally to have the community be able to vote on or prioritize those ideas, which is not something that you would necessarily have to follow, but I think it's important when we're looking at staff reductions and budget cuts and things like that, to have community engagement to keep morale up and to feel like we are all involved in the process.
Yeah, well, that's a very clear request. There will be a lot of opportunity, and it will be sought, because we're going to have to be cutting for several years. I have to make very fast cuts. There's no doubt about it. Simply the case. We cannot have people voting. We cannot have people voting about what areas are going to be cut. It's simply not possible. And I guess I have to say, this is, without elevating this and turning it into an element, a war of creed, this is an example of accountability. The board is holding me accountable and the administration accountable for this set of structures for all sorts of reasons, including personnel matters, proper analysis. I think this is the responsibility of my senior administrators to look at and evaluate the operations. In terms of, for example, the discussion that will go on in what areas